Oh my God. Ridiculous fast. That's my first impression of the car. I also love the sound. I'm so used to the iconic sounds from BMW, and this one sounds really cool actually. Shall we do it again? Like a rocket. Impressive. So this is the new Mini Countryman all electric. But before we get going, let's talk specs. The electric drivetrain delivers 313 horsepower and 363 pounds-feet of torque. It's enough to get the car from 0 to 60 in about 5.6 seconds. Of course, it comes with DC fast charging, so you're able to recharge the car from 10 to 80% in about 30 minutes. Another important spec, it's the aero drag coefficient, 0.26, which is quite impressive considering how rugged and how upright the design really sits. As I've said in the previous Mini Countryman JCW review, the car is bigger than ever before. It's about 174.5 inches long, 72.5 inches wide, and 65.2 inches in height. It has a wheelbase of 106 inches. That makes it shorter and just about as wide as the BMW X1, if you want to put things in context. In terms of practicality and other stats, the rear bench slides forward by about 13 centimeters, which is about 5.1 inches, and you can adjust the backrest in 6 positions by as much as 12 degrees. With the rear seats in place, the Countryman offers a cargo volume of 460 liters, which can be expandable to 1450 liters after folding the bench. You can even use a trailer hitch. It can tow up to 1,200 kilograms. Now, as we hit this Atlantic coast, let's talk about the driving experience and kind of take in the scenery at the same time as well. First off, the car feels completely different than the JCW, and don't get me wrong, that car was a lot of fun today. It sounds great, it's got a great exhaust note, it was quite fun to push into corners, but it doesn't have the instant acceleration that gets you addicted to electric cars. Now, of course, the Mini purists will probably yell at me like, what are you talking about? We still have our gasoline engines, and that's fine. I'm still happy that Mini and BMW still offers an alternative to electric drivetrains, and this is why we end up with a regular Countryman S, for example, or with a JCW. When it comes to the architecture, of course, the Mini Countryman SE ALL4 shares the same platform as the BMW iX1 and iX2. So a lot of the settings, a lot of the things are similar as in the BMW cars. Of course, they have been tuned and refined for the Mini Countryman. In the end, it is a very different vehicle, especially from a design standpoint and also from a customer standpoint. The Mini customers expect different things that they would expect in a BMW, for example. But let's see if there are any similarities between all these cars, because in the end, you have to compare the 3 cars. And it gets a little bit harder because they're all similar in size, they're all similar in weight, and they are absolutely similar when it comes to power and torque. Of course, when it comes to similarities between cars, the regular Mini Countryman, the gasoline, the diesel, or the JCW, for example, it is nearly identical to this car, especially when you sit inside. Aside from the lack of noise, you wouldn't really be able to tell that you are in an electric car. And that's also okay, because a lot of customers want to get a more familiar look. They don't necessarily like the look of electric cars. Some people call them appliances, and that's fine too. So essentially, this is why I truly enjoy having a car that looks similar to the others without screaming too loud what drivetrain is hidden under the hood. Speaking of the hood, of course, there is no front trunk, just like with all the other BMWs, so the only cargo space will be in the rear of the car. It does employ the same driving assistant features as the regular Mini Countryman, so essentially you're getting level 2+ up to 37 miles per hour. If you go over that speed limit, the system will prompt you to take over the steering wheel and keep your hands on the steering wheel. The system allows you to take your hands off while you still keep your eyes on the road, but I believe every 30 seconds or so, it will prompt you to take over the steering. Technology-wise, once again, same as the JCW that I drove a little bit earlier today, 9.4 inches OLED screen here in the center. beautiful contracts, beautiful colors, and it's a quite interesting system because I'm so used to the iDrive system, and operating the system is completely different. So it took me a little bit of time to get accustomed, especially to the new interface, but also to all these new modes, because it comes with a lot of modes. Mini actually calls them experiences, and you have quite a few of them. For example, you have the core mode, you have the go car mode, you have a green mode, vivid, timeless, which is my favorite, personal, balance, and trail. But for now, let's put it in the go car mode. Essentially, if you want to do that, it's telling you that the optimum traction will be disabled. Still, let's do that. Let's see what the car can do. And you might have heard that sound. That's the sound that you're getting every time you're changing the experience in the car. Overtaking, it's a breeze. I mean, you can see the car really takes off. Oh, love that sound. It's something like you're downshifting at some point. That's pretty cool. I can feel immediately that the car is heavier than the JCW, and that's of course because of the battery pack. So no surprise there. But for some reason, it doesn't feel sluggish at all. And even now in this situation when I'm taking off, so fast, very, very addictive. So it looks like as soon as I hit a brake, it's starting to deliver you a different noise, which is really, really cool once again. Steering feedback, it's actually quite good. Maybe it's not as sporty as in the JCW. With the battery embedded within the chassis, I also feel like it's getting a little bit better balance maybe. I have to push a little bit more to figure that one out, but I guess cornering doesn't feel like you're getting a lot of body roll. So definitely the weight distribution, it's been helped by that battery pack. The suspension, of course, it's not as aggressive as in the JCW, and that's expected. This is more of a daily commuter than that car. It could be a weekend fun car. The steering wheel, it's actually a little bit different than the one in the JCW. That's one that I really loved because it had this perforated material with a fake leather combination at the top, which was really, really cool. But nonetheless, it's kind of similar in shape. All right, so let's push the car a little bit more now. You still got a little bit of that mini go-kart feeling. Of course, it feels different than in the JCW. And I keep referencing that car because I drove it a little bit earlier today, so it's still fresh in my mind. But turning in quite nicely. The front end bites. Of course, it rides on quite large wheels, I believe 20 inches. And of course, it's a little bit wider in diameter as well, and that helps with the stability and with cornering speed as well. See, the car just nicely turns around, and then you can quickly accelerate out of the corner. And I'm telling you, that's the beauty of some of these electric cars. They might feel, or they might sound soulless in many ways because of the lack of an exhaust note. But honestly, if you drive it on some of these roads, you will get addicted to this instant power. Brake regeneration, I'm in the B mode right now, so essentially one pedal feel. I can always go into the adaptive mode just like in a BMW car, and I can adjust that. There are 3 different settings, and that's going to give you a different recuperation level in the car. All right, so let's do a little bit of POV driving since a lot of you seems to enjoy this. So I'm gonna show you some of those curvy roads here. Hopefully we clear some traffic and we can push the car a little bit and show you what it can do. Braking is great. Of course, that always helps. You can see how easy it is to maneuver the car. I'm actually happy that we're entering a city center because now we can test how well the car maneuvers itself around these really tight roads. I mean, we're talking like really tight roads. At some point it turns into a single lane. Always fascinating seeing this here. Always got to be very careful. As you can see, we went from a 2-lane to a very narrow street. This would be called a single parking space in the US. You can see I'm in the trail mode right now. Here we go on another nice stretch of road, so you can see what the car can do. As you can see, nicely turning in, very nice grip at the front. Steering feedback, it's really good in that perspective. I can feel it how it loads up when you're cornering at a higher speed, so it adjusts itself. Nice and twisty roads around here. Of course, the acceleration, a lot easier to exit from corners. So for example here, brake hard, turn in, and then you can quickly accelerate. Beautiful. So can you have fun with the MINI Countryman SE all electric? Absolutely, but it's a different kind of fun. So if you're looking for the traditional Mini fun, the go-kart feeling, then maybe the Mini JCW will deliver that a little bit more. But overall, it just feels like a very competent electric car, and I'm assuming that's exactly what Mini wanted to achieve with this one. So you might be asking by now, does it feel like a true Mini? And the answer to that is a little bit more complicated, because this is really the first attempt for Mini to design, to engineer an electric crossover. And it's not your typical Countryman either, because it has changed quite a bit compared to the outgoing model. Therefore, this feels and looks like a brand new product. What's exciting about this car is the fact that, one, it's coming to the US. Secondly, it starts in the mid-40s range. Of course, you can spec this a lot higher, it could get a little bit more expensive, but if you don't want to spend the money and you just want a premium electric crossover, then this particular SE will fit the bill. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure how to phrase this one, but if you live in the US, you only have this option from the BMW group. But if you live in Europe, the choice is a little bit tougher, because you have the iX1, you have the iX2, and you have the MINI Countryman. They feel the same in many ways. Of course, there's small deltas between them, and that's to be expected because they do want to cater to different customers. But clearly, if you are a Mini customer, you might be inclined to look firstly at the MINI Countryman SE, and that's fine, because once again, this is a very compelling product, even at the 55,000 euros starting point in Europe. Now, if you're on the fence between the JCW and the MINI Countryman SE, then the choice it's a little bit tougher, because it really comes down to what you want. Are you a petrolhead that it's holding on to one of the last Mini Countrymans with a gasoline engine, because by 2030 the Mini brand will go fully electric? And if that's the case, then you should absolutely get the JCW variant. Now, if you're looking for a good daily commuter, if you have a place to charge the car, if you can have access to DC fast charging quite easily, then I would say this car, it's a no-brainer. Clearly, I've spent a lot of time in electric BMW lately, so I might be a little bit biased, because in many ways I fell in love with those products, even though I'll always have a gasoline car, either a Mini or a BMW. But I would say as a second car, or even as a primary car, you should absolutely take a look at the MINI Countryman SE. Of course, go for a ride and see what it feels like to you. I will have a chance to test the efficiency in the near future, so I'll do a proper range test. That way I can give you some exact figures, because if I were to look at the efficiency right now, it's probably going to be skewed by the way I was driving earlier today, which is not your normal driving situation. So as always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for your support. I'll make sure to leave the link to all the videos in the description below, so that way you can catch up on all of them and see what I've been doing here. But as always, please let me know, would you like to buy the MINI Countryman JCW, or you're more progressive thinking and you're gonna go for the Countryman SE ALL4? As always, I will see you in the next one.